All right, so welcome back. This is Happy Hour with Heather and guest. I'm that other dude, Andrew, and I'm here with Leo Maia, who's just who's just released. Has it been released or is it coming out soon?
No, it is released. It was
Okay,
released a couple weeks ago.
gotcha. Yeah, so Pneumothorax, right?
Yes.
Okay, is the name of the track. Um, it was interesting because I listened to it the first time without knowing the backstory of so apparently you had suffered from a case of pneumothorax, which was the sort of the genesis of the song. So it was interesting listening to it first without knowing that, and then going back and listening to it again, and really the lyrics, everything took on new meaning. It
Yeah.
was and so also, just to let you, I had a ruptured brain aneurysm about 4 years ago. So when I had heard that you wrote this, as part of your recovery, uh, it was something I could definitely understand.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are looking for, I mean, it's a great progressive track. There's some really interesting. I read that some of the influences were like Mogwai and King Crimson and some of those bands. You can definitely hear that, but it's definitely different. It's your sound. Um, so for fans of progressive music, progressive metal. There's some great playing in there. Um, there's also a really interesting story being told within the lyrics. So, had you written this song before uh, you had this affliction, and then you sort of were able to work it in, or was this something you wrote as sort of a way to heal?
It was the latter actually. I'm mostly a singer. I can play other instruments and I play everything on the track, but my main instrument is the voice. But I've always been a music theory nerd, and I really like to compose and put all my references into the tracks. So when I came back from the hospital, I was recovering from a lung injury that happened while I was singing. So they definitely told me to like just don't sing for at least 2 months, right? And I was just like, oh, I'm just here at home, nothing to do, and I can't even walk 10 minutes before I feel extremely tired. My lung was still recovering. So I decided to just buy a guitar, buy a MIDI controller, like a keyboard. And then I talked to my friend who recommended Reaper as a DAW, but a DAW, which is a digital workstation to make the song. And then I downloaded that, and I started playing around with my MIDI keyboard. And my like what was powering all of that was just coming through what I experienced. So I just started with some piano, kind of influenced by Twin Peaks. I tried to get that Twin Peaks piano like vibe on it, and I was just going through. Let me try the scale and let put some notes that make it seem bright and happy and peaceful, because that was actually what was happening to me. It was on a peaceful day, singing, right? And I led that all the way into an abrupt break, which it's really, my lung collapsing. It's what that break goes about. And then I went into just really, really thinking what was going on my head and my emotions as I was walking into that ER. I was just feeling all of that fear and anxiety, and I was just trying to experiment with what kind of chord progression and riffs would fit well with that type of emotion. And that led me, I ended up doing the entire instrumental piece first, just going by the emotions that I was feeling and putting that into music. And then afterwards, after my 2 months, and I had like everything laid down, and I had just binged YouTube to learn how to mix and put something together enough for me to sing over it. That's when I started to build a vocal melody, which I first do on the piano, and then trying to find words that would fit the melody and also describe the same story and fit the same. Each section represents an emotion, so I tried to put lyrics that represent that emotion, and that's how it came about. Like in the end, I was very happy with the results, and I got my friend Jeff Black from here, which is a producer, and he was very happy just by seeing me growing and learning how to do this. And then he mastered the track for me, which was great, and I'm really thankful for him, and he did a great job. And then I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna put it out there. I have other songs that I want to also produce now that I know how to do it and record it well. So I just decided to start putting songs out there, and that was the first one, and that's kind of the story on my creative process behind it, if it makes sense to you.
It does. And it's interesting because I could tell, it does almost seem like it's a 5-act play or an opera happening, because there are very distinct changes. It did seem very light and sort of happy in the beginning. It's a nice sort of piano accompaniment, and then it sort of begins to descend a little bit as it represents, what was happening to you. So I think you definitely managed to create something that is representative of what you experienced. At least, sonically, people will be able to be inspired. I mean, listening to you talk about it and remembering sort of my own recovery, it's just very inspirational. So I think what's wonderful is you probably got a lot out of creating the song, just personally, to kind of keep you motivated. And now other people are going to be able to benefit from hearing it, to just get some good music, really. And I'm glad. I hope that this is the beginning of you creating more, producing more. Because I think it's a great track. I was sort of disappointed that was the only track. I was sort of hoping, like, okay, well, this is a great start. What's next? But I guess at some point there will be other tracks that you'll work on, that you'll release. So now, how are you feeling now?
Um, I'm I'm feeling better. I like to say that I recover physically, but there's still some ways to go mentally. Like just the other day, I was feeling this back pain, probably muscular, and then I start to be like, oh boy, I'm gonna check my oxygen, right? Is it happening again? So all of these mental aspects of it, it's what I'm trying to go through right now. And I actually had COVID a couple months ago, and I was very worried, like, oh, it's going to attack my lungs. Like my doctor just say, you're fine. It's just like it never happened. Just don't worry. But it's hard to convince my brain, and that's mainly what I still need to heal, especially when I'm singing. When I'm singing and I have a low voice, and so when I sing high, which is what I like to do, it puts some pressure on the lungs, right? And as I'm doing that, I'm always like, oh my God, am I overdoing it, right? And I hope to, looking for some therapy and some help to be able to overcome this. It's being a lot better now in comparison to the end of last year, which was right after my recovery. But there's still some to recover.
Yeah, well, I what I learned through experience is that physically you recover first, and then as that begins to sort of taper off, then you sort of deal with the emotional recovery. I would have expected them to happen at the same time, but a lot of the time it sort of goes in that progression. So, but yeah, I mean, it seems like you're handling things really well. Um, you were able to create this song, which is great. And do you have plans now to continue writing and work on new songs, and possibly play gigs. I'm not sure if you. I know you're a singer, but I don't know if you have if this is going to be something you want to take and play in front of other people, or if it's a project just for composition and sort of being behind the scenes.
Okay, so answering the first question, I'm currently just finished recording vocals for a collaboration with my friend Jeff Black. He wrote a really good power metal song, and he was looking for a singer that could sing up there and keep up with the energy. So like I wrote the lyrics and composed the vocal melody and recorded everything and just sent all the tracks to him this weekend. So that's the next thing that we'll be releasing, is just a collab with him. But in parallel to that, I do have like an old song that I composed 10 years ago, actually, which I never had the means to put it into actual instruments. And I've been doing that. I've already have all the bass down. I have the drums. I have all the keyboards. Next up will be guitar. I mean, I'm looking for a saxophonist because I can't play blow instruments. And there's a lot of saxophone in that song. There's a saxophone solo and not a guitar solo. And I'm looking for that guy, getting in touch with a friend of a friend that might be able to help me out on that. And then next up would be singing it. And this next song is called Sonhos, which is dreams in Portuguese, and it has Portuguese lyrics. And it's less metal. It's more on the prog rock side, and it's very ethereal. And it's basically about the mundane, never-ending, just going after your dreams. You always have your dreams just right at your fingertips, and then you just wake up and you have to just brew coffee and work another day, right? So that's kind of the motivation behind it. So it's an inspiration into like go and grab your dreams type of song. That's the next one up. I have a chord progression and riffs and that I have for my third single release, which I have saved and I'll be working on right after Sonhos. So yes, I have at least 3 songs that will be coming up, right? We have the collaboration and 2 other singles, and I want to keep doing this. I'm really passionate about it. That's what I do with my free time. It's just music, right? And in terms of playing it for other people, I'd love to. I'd love to sing to other people. I can't play and sing at the same time, especially because the songs are very complex in terms of time signatures, and I just don't have the type of coordination. I can either play or sing, but not at the same time. If it would be just a 4x4, like rock song, I should be able to do it. But the type of prog song that I write, I would need a backup band to accompany me on gigs, and you would need to be musicians which dig the genre and can play the songs, which are a little challenging, especially because of the time signatures. And so I just don't have, like, should I hire a bunch of musicians and try and play on a local gig here? Still don't have like my plans on how to do it, but yes, there is a desire to perform and just sing in front of other people.
Well, I'm sure it'll all come together at some point. You've made it through an extremely difficult time, and you've used it to create something wonderful that people can listen to. And I feel like you'll figure out, where are you living these days?
I live in Vancouver in BC.
Okay,
Canada.
so hopefully someone, great musicians in Vancouver are watching this, and they'll reach out to you. You'll find people in the scene, but that's the beauty of technology these days. But yeah, I mean, what's great too is there were elements of progressive metal in the song. There's some nice guitar solos and certainly some shredding going on, but it was more reminiscent of the sort of 70s progressive rock scene. So again, for those of you out there listening, if that's your jam, then definitely pick up this track that I think is probably on all platforms right now. Definitely Bandcamp. It's called Pneumothorax by Leo Maia, and yeah, I mean it's a jam. I was really, again, I was bummed that that was the only song. While it was great to listen to, I was sort of like ready to hit, rewind and go back or check out the other stuff on the album, and there wasn't an album. But one day there will be an album. Um, so that's great. Yeah. And you're originally from Brazil?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
Brazilian.
How may I ask how you ended up in Vancouver?
Yeah. So in 2015, I got a job offer, which I took to work in Seattle, actually. So I lived 2 years in Seattle working for Amazon. And then after these 2 years, I got a transfer to Vancouver. There was like a new team building up in Vancouver. They needed some senior leadership in there, and it was also an opportunity for me to immigrate more easily. It was, Trump was going on at that time, and immigration was harder during that time in the U.S. So I saw in Canada an opportunity to immigrate more easily, and being able to get my permanent residency, which I have right now. Gonna get citizenship this year. So that's kind of how I ended up in Vancouver at December 2017.
Gotcha. Yeah, I apologize if that was, personal. I was just very curious because I have not met very many people, A, who live in Vancouver, and B, who've moved to Vancouver from another country. So I was just interested in that. But
And that's fine.
yeah, well, I mean, going back to the music, it's great that you were able to put this track together. It's great that you have other musical ideas that will form new songs. And I'm sure that you'll find musicians either to play with or to sing for or to do something. And it's just wonderful to know that this is just the start.
Yes.
So I'm excited. So for those of you out there, check out Leo Maya. You can find him on all the social media platforms, I would imagine. The track Pneumothorax is available. Definitely get it. And yeah, I will sign off on it. I'll put my name on it. It's a jam. You will enjoy it. So Leo, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me, and good luck with everything. And I encourage all of you out there to pick up Pneumothorax.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a pleasure being on the show, a pleasure meeting you, and I'm really passionate about telling my story because I feel like this song is not just a song; it is a story, as you also mentioned. So yeah, thank you so much.
My pleasure.